All right, what's up, everyone? It is the NHL Hit the Ice show presented by Awesemo.com. Got a 6-game NHL slate to get through. It's Friday. Nice to have a few games to talk about. For once, it seems like we've gotten just showdown or 2-gamers or 3-gamers. 6 games is in that sweet spot that we like. So excited to actually have a slate to talk about. I'm going to post this link in chat so that we can get some people in chat and interacting. There's got to be an easier way for me to do this. NHL. What? All right. There we go. All right. So now that we've got a few of you in here, last night was quite the disaster, actually. Just tons of goals everywhere, it seemed like, from the second the slate kicked off. I mean, it was like 4 goals right in a row, and then it just never stopped, especially in the Boston-Vancouver game, which I didn't have enough of. I had Boston won, but that was really about it. And if you had Vancouver won, congrats. You probably made quite a bit of money. They were low owned. Steve mentioned liking their power play, and he actually had a couple high finishes in a couple tournaments that I was in. So I only know that from scrolling to the top. I had 0 success in GPPs last night. So hopefully tonight goes a little bit better for me. Congrats if you won. I just wasn't on the Vancouver call at all. So there you go. Today we're going to just go through 6 games. Nice slate size, of course. Not too much news. John Carlson is out for the Capitals. That's probably the biggest bit of news. Looking at some of the other things in Nolan's article, which you guys should go read. I'll post that in chat right now. Go read this. I don't see anything that really jumps off the page to me. We've got Winnipeg on the slate for the first time in a long time. And then you mentioned Carlson's out. Buchnevich for the Rangers is going to be skating on the top line. And those are really the big things. He's got that Raquel and Getzlaf were reunited last game. So those are some things that just quick reminders. I always like to read Nolan's article before coming onto the show. It really helps me kind of gather all the news because, you can only keep track of so much, and it's nice to have it all in one place. So I would suggest you guys read that every day before you start making your lineups. Today's slate, just kind of scrolling through, I don't see a ton that we're going to have to worry about as far as ownership. I mean, there are a couple of chalky spots. You've got Winnipeg 1. I don't think Colorado 1 is going to be super heavily owned. A couple games with 5.5 point totals, so or 5.5 goal totals, I should say. So I don't think those games are going to get a ton of attention. Nothing really sticks out as far as anything being a spectacular value. Ovechkin. He's going to have ownership. I'm sure the Tavares Marner line that I like is going to have some ownership. But overall, I don't think it's going to be something that we're going to have to be super worried about. St. Louis 1, more power play correlation there. And that's really about it. Kind of a tricky slate. Hopefully we can figure some stuff out. If you guys are going to talk in chat, ask questions, you guys make statements, I'd love to get this to be as interactive as possible. It really helps me, and hopefully it helps you guys if we can share some of our different viewpoints on this slate. So let's get into it right now. I'm going to pull up the line data I have downloaded. So we're going to start with the game on your screen, New Jersey and Toronto. Let me pull up those lines so I have them to reference. All right, 2.7 implied total for the Devils, 3.3 for the Maple Leafs. We've got Keith Kincaid going for the Devils. Frederik Andersen going for the Maple Leafs. The line that I really like in this game is Tavares Marner, and unfortunately, Zach Hyman is on that line. But I don't hate the full stack. I'd rather not pay for almost $5K for Hyman on FanDuel. Looking over on DraftKings, I think he's like 3,900. Yeah, 39 is a little bit more reasonable for Hyman. Still would like to leave him off. Haven't decided what I'm doing as far as 4-3-1, 3-3-2, or power play stacking or what tonight. And it may be a mixture of everything, but I'm going to try to keep Hyman off as much as possible, as I usually do. Other lines to consider in this game, I think it's hard not to like Hischier, Hall, Palmieri in what should be a pretty up-tempo matchup. I don't know how they're going to match. I mean, they've been going Tavares against top competition the last couple games. Who knows? They've switched it up. They've had Kadri go up against top competition with Matthews out. So it's not something we can be sure of at this point. I would bet, I should say, that Tavares, Marner, and Hyman go up against Hischier, Hall, Palmieri, but that's just one man's guess. Shouldn't take that to the bank. Would you be shocked if Kadri, Marleau, Kapanen went up against Hischier, Hall, Palmieri? I wouldn't be really at all. So that's not really the reason you're playing any line in this game anyways. I think the Devils have been pretty poor on the road this year as far as shot suppression. Big total for Toronto, and hard not to like Tavares Marner here at the very least. Don't love Kadri, Marleau with Kapanen. Looking at some of their numbers, let me find them. 47 Corsi for percentage. I mean, that's fine. They play up tempo both ways. Their chances are about even. They're doing an okay job limiting high danger chances and creating some of their own. So, they're not a bad stack at all. I just do prefer Tavares and Marner if you can afford those guys, and they correlate really well to Morgan Rielly, who is shooting a lot more this year. Just correlates perfectly. He played 15 minutes with Tavares and Marner in the last game. I think that was including the power play. Nolan had that in his article, so you get little nuggets like that as well. In this game, I don't see a ton I like for depth lines. It's really just the other top two, Hischier, Hall, Palmieri. Hall is, I believe, my highest projected skater on the slate. Toronto just plays an up-tempo style. It's a 6 total. He's Taylor Hall. He's almost always getting in on the scoring if the Devils score a couple goals. Just so good at creating high-danger chances at even strength and on the power play. So his line is basically always in play when I'm MMEing, and that's what I plan on doing tonight. Defenseman for the Devils. I mean, if you want Will Butcher, that's fine. He's just not my kind of player. He's strictly for power play correlation. And, he does make sense if you're going to the top line, but he's 4,200. You're not getting him for free anymore. So I'm going to avoid most of the Devils defensemen here. Gardner's the guy I would go to if you're stacking the Kadri line. All right, let's move on to the next game, Columbus and Washington. The Capitals in D.C. We have probably Bobrovsky going up against Holtby here. Again, John Carlson is going to be out for this game, so big bump to Matt Niskanen, who doesn't shoot as much as Carlson, but just merely being on the top power play in Washington is so valuable. You get exposure to Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, Backstrom, Oshie, so he correlates pretty well to both lines. He's 4,700. That's a big, that's quite the savings you get compared to a guy like John Carlson, who's regularly priced in the mid-6s and up to 7K at times. Full stacks in this game. I think you can go to either of the two Capitals lines here. Backstrom's going to be up against the top Columbus line, which doesn't really worry me either way. And then Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, and Yaskin is probably going to see a lot of time against Jenner, Foligno, Josh Anderson. So I like the top 6 on both sides, actually. I think you're going to get pretty low ownership on Jenner, Foligno, and Josh Anderson. And I would even be more interested in dipping down to the third line if Bjorkstrand was going to be back, but he's not back in. I don't know if it's an injury or what. It's just a healthy scratch situation. I know they healthy scratched him last game, but he should be in the lineup. Whatever. He's not in the lineup, so shouldn't worry about him on a 6-game slate. There's other stuff to talk about. How much of a boost do you think to Columbus with Carlson out? I mean, Carlson's not a real great defender. I mean, he's fine defensively, but it's not like he's on their shutdown pairing or anything like that. The shutdown pairing, I would guess, is going to be Orlov and Juice. I doubt they want Kempny against Panarin, Dubois, and Atkinson. So Niskanen and Orlov wasn't really doing too hot to start out with. So Columbus 1 is firmly in play. One of my favorite stacks on the night. And I think almost all the top lines are in play, if not every single one. So you won't be hearing too many hot takes from me tonight. What else should we talk about in this game? Oh, the Ovechkin line's been really poor defensively, as we know. But looking at some actual numbers here, they are allowing... So there's Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and Yaskin. Limited time together, 26 minutes, 17.5 high danger chances against per 60 is their pace. So just pretty bad to start out with. But even if you look at a bigger sample, Ovechkin and Kuznetsov together, they've played together pretty much every game this year. 19.2 high danger chances against per 60 without Yaskin. So maybe you give them a boost with Yaskin on there, but still pretty poor defensively. So if they're going to see time against Jenner, Foligno, and Josh Anderson, that's a line I'm definitely going to have for some filler stacks. Columbus 1 with Bob is so cheap. Yeah, I mean, Bobrovsky, assuming he starts, if he's 7,100, really hard not to like him. He's going to pop on every projection model. He's going to pop on mine. This is a winnable game for Columbus, so there's really nothing wrong with that at all. Columbus 1 with Bob, and then you've still got a ton of salary left over. Columbus 1, one of the most underpriced lines of the night, maybe the most underpriced line of the night outside of maybe Winnipeg 1. All right, defenseman here, Werenski moved down to the third pairing, so he's not with Seth Jones. Much prefer Seth Jones here. He's on the power play with Atkinson and Dubois anyways, and then with Foligno as well. So I want to get Seth Jones as much as possible when I'm stacking Columbus, either of the top two lines. Savard, I think, should be considered. He's someone who blocks shots, takes them, and when he's in the top 4, I think he provides some value for 3,200 on DraftKings. I mentioned Niskanen on the Capitals side. He's really the only guy I want heavy exposure to, but Juice is 2,500. He doesn't really do a ton, but min-priced defenseman skating with Orlov, who could possibly be their shutdown pairing against a high event line like Dubois, Atkinson, and Panarin. That is pretty valuable for min salary. So Juice will be the guy that I'll punt with a little bit if it comes to that. Rangers and Red Wings, absolute barn burner here. We're not going to see a hard match. I mean, I hate this game all around. 2.7 implied total for the Rangers, 2.8 for the Red Wings. I so much prefer the other 5.5 total game that we're getting, which is the last game of the night. This one is, I mean, first of all, you got Detroit. You got Jeff Blashill, who switches his lines all the time. He's done a good job keeping Larkin and Mantha together. Now, if you just get Helm off that line, that would be great. But we're not going to see that tonight. At least we won't know if we're going to see that tonight. I mean, I like Larkin and Mantha together. So I will have those guys in like a similar scenario as Tavares and Marner. Obviously not as talented as Tavares and Marner. But I think those two make for a fine mid-tier mini stack. That's really all I have on Detroit's side. I don't love Mike Green, even though he is on the power play and does correlate to Mantha and Larkin. And then that second line, just solo event, Athanasiou, Nielsen, and Gustav Nyquist. I mean, they're okay, but it's not like you're getting them for a nice cheap price here. I think they're more expensive than Columbus 2, which, I mean, that's the easy one for me. I'd rather have Columbus 2 seeing time against the Ovechkin line. And then the Rangers line is also make it tough because you've got Zibanejad and Buchnevich together. I think that's fine. those two make for a nice dynamic duo, or you could even have Nemestikov in for a stack. That's a pretty cheap top line. That's fine for me. There's power play time for Buchnevich and Zibanejad. But looking at the second line, there's no data that we have for them, so I'm more at a wait-and-see approach for those guys. Hazeline's getting Detroit depth. Hayes plus Kreider have been really good together. Yeah, I mean, they're fine. I would assume they're going to be okay with Spooner on there as well. There's just no hard data for me to get to. So at a similar price also to Columbus too, I would just rather take a shot there or some of these other cheaper lines, like if you're looking at one of those Minnesota lines or something like that. So it's just a price thing for me. I think salary's pretty soft tonight, so I want the best of the best. I don't think you need a ton of value like a Spooner at 3,200 very often, even though Osmo does have him as an A value. What else am I forgetting in this game? I don't have a ton to talk about in this game, just because I think it's going to be pretty low event. And looking at the power plays, it looks like Detroit has committed a bunch of penalties, so maybe the Rangers' top power play is fine. I'd just rather stay away from this game. I know that's going to be a pretty popular take, and this game's probably not going to have a ton of ownership. But man, I just don't see a ton that I'm really looking forward to playing, even in mass multi-entry. Defenseman on the Rangers, I do like D'Angelo a little bit, and then Neil Pionk would be my top guy, but 5,400. Far cry from when we were getting him for 3K the first couple weeks of the season. So D value there for Osmo. I don't think he's a great value tonight. I would definitely agree with that. If I'm taking a chance on a goalie here, it's probably Lundqvist for under 8K. This is a very winnable game for the Rangers, and Lundqvist is actually good, whereas I don't think Howard is very good. And I think he's going to get some ownership just because he's at home, and he is a slight favorite. Sharks at the St. Louis Blues. We have Arundel, the likely starter, going up against Chad Johnson. We have some news to talk about in St. Louis. There is no Braden Shen once again for this game. Ryan O'Reilly slots between Tarasenko and Schwartz, Fabry, Thomas, and David Perron on that second line. This is really just a one-line team for me at this point. It's going to be O'Reilly, Schwartz, Tarasenko. They're pretty expensive, but all on the top power play now. I wish they'd get Vince Dunn off that top power play and just have Pietrangelo there. I think I still do prefer Pietrangelo, even though he is not on the top power play with them. He's going to skate a ton with them at even strength. San Jose is on a back-to-back here. No Tomas Hertl here, which definitely hurts that second line for the Sharks in terms of possession. It's mostly going to be top lines both ways. Pavelski, Kane, and Donskoy still a big fan of that line as it is currently constructed. However, I was talking to a few people today, and it looks like San Jose did mix up their lines quite a bit last night. So we saw Kane on the top line for a while. He jumped down to the third line with Suomela. So you just don't really know what the Sharks coach is going to do at this point. Couture and Timo Meier, I like as a duo. Their prices come down significantly, even from last night. They were both near 7K, and this is a much, much better price for them. So don't hate them with LeBanc if you are going for a full stack on San Jose's side outside of the top line, even though I do prefer the top line. Depends on how much Carlson Burns you want. Yeah. Carlson just, like, his price has dropped, but he's kind of deserved it. He's been the anti-Thomas Chabot so far. How about that guy? Another 9-point DK performance. Chabot, just the absolute GOAT. My Sens won the Carlson trade. I think it's a little too early to say that. So Burns is going to be the guy I want. Like Steve said yesterday, Carlson just hasn't really done much. So until he does something, it's kind of a wait and see. I'm fine missing out on a huge Carlson performance. I don't know that we're going to see one here. Much prefer Burns at 6,700. He's probably the best defenseman on the night once again. Just a ho-hum 8-point DraftKings performance for Brent Burns. It's getting ridiculous at this point. When he scores, not even scores goals, but when he gets on the score sheet, he's just so valuable. So just as good as any defenseman in the league from a daily fantasy perspective. That's probably about it for this game. Aaron Dell, I think, is too talented to be $7,100 on the road. Yes, the Sharks are on a back-to-back, but again, I've said it with a couple games now, but this is a winnable game for San Jose on the road, despite it being a back-to-back. And Dell is a pretty solid goalie. Some would argue much better than Martin Jones, but that's for another podcast. Chad Johnson is 7,600. Don't really love the value here with Johnson, although I understand the play if you are going to St. Louis 1. Definitely didn't win the Turris trade. Yeah. All right. Avs and the Winnipeg Jets. We have Semyon Varlamov going up against Connor Hellebuck. I don't know how Winnipeg 1 is not going to be chalk. If someone else has a different idea, please feel free to shout it out in chat. But this looks like a really, really nice spot for Winnipeg 1. I'm going to pull up the Colorado numbers so I can reference them, the top line numbers. Looking at what they've done at even strength this year, 209 minutes. They've played basically every minute at even strength together. 47.5 Corsi for percentage. They're giving up 26 scoring chances against per 60. That's fine. But over 12 high danger chances against per 60. They're getting outshot, outchanced, but they've broken the slate a couple times. So maybe people are scared to target against them. I'm really not. The other lines look better defensively to me in decent samples. So assuming we're going to see Scheifele going up against Colorado 1, which is what I have it as right now, I think that's going to be pretty clear, at least for quite a bit of their time. Scheifele, Wheeler, and Ehlers should be the chalk. They're cheap, relatively cheap. You can have them for under 18K for whatever reason. I mean, I like Ehlers up there instead of Connor. He doesn't get power play one time, but boo-hoo, he is 5,200 and does get power play 2 times and plays with Scheifele and Wheeler at even strength. So I'm not sure why Osmo has Scheifele as a D value with Wheeler being an A, but maybe that's something I can ask him about. I think these guys are all fine values, and I'm going to be firing up a ton of Winnipeg 1, so they're going to compete for my highest owned stack of the night. I just don't know how I don't get there. My numbers love Wheeler, they love Ehlers, and they love Scheifele. Their numbers as a line are fantastic. There's just really nothing bad to say about them. Their offensive numbers, I should say. Their defensive numbers, a little bit leaky so far, giving up nearly 15 high danger chances against per 60. So you can make a case for Colorado 1 for sure, but I really heavily lean to Winnipeg 1 here at home. I think they smash. So that's that. Sam Girard is still on that top power play for the Avalanche. He's the guy I want to target. $900 cheaper than Tyson Barrie. And if he's not going to get that top power play time, Barrie, that is, then it's really tough for me to pay $5K for him. Trouba, Morrissey, those guys are okay for Winnipeg, but when I'm going to the top line here, it's going to be Dustin Byfuglien, who is just under 6K. He's not Brent Burns, but you do get quite a bit of a discount on him. And if you are looking for a 2-man stack, Laine and Byfuglien together, I think, is a really nice pairing. Laine down on that third line, but you can play him in a power play stack if you can afford getting up to Laine from Ehlers, and you want to do that to differentiate your lineup. Feel free. Colorado has committed, or has been shorthanded the most times in the NHL this year. They just can't help themselves, apparently. So expecting a lot of power play time for the Jets here just seems like a really, really awesome spot for Winnipeg's top power play. top line. However you want to stack it up, I think Winnipeg 1 is probably my favorite spot of the entire night. If you had to pick a Winnipeg one-off, who would it be? Oh, Line A. A one-off? Yeah, it would be Line A. Buff shots last few games have been insane. I haven't even looked. He pops on my model. So this season, I know he's been attempting a lot of shots. Let's look at what he's done. All right, so last 5 games. This is just shots on goal. I'm sure the attempts have been quite a bit higher. 5-5-4, 5-4. So 18 shots on goal. 23 shots on goal his last 5 games. That is a very, very good pace. The points have been there. The goals haven't been, but somewhat random for a defenseman. A guy like Bufflin will score his fair share of goals because he just shoots so much. He's got a real big shot. And he's seeing 23, 24, 26 minutes per game. Really hard to argue against him as the number 2 defenseman on the night behind Brent Burns, because Burns is always number 1. All right. If you are going to a one-off goalie, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do with goalie yet tonight, I've been experimenting with, a lot of times I just correlate whenever I can. But if I do one-off goalies, I think Colorado's going to get outshot here pretty handily. And Varlamov is 7,200. He's capable of having big performances. So he would be the perfect GPP one-off goalie. I wouldn't play him as leverage to Winnipeg 1, because he can give up 2 goals to Winnipeg 1 and still have a really solid DK score if they get the win. So I don't really like goalie leverage. I don't really pay attention to ownership. It's just kind of whoever fits, whoever makes sense in the context of the lineup. And Varlamov does have quite a big ceiling in this matchup, in my opinion. Goalies were trash last night. Yeah, I saw a tweet from Michael Clifford, Slim Cliffy, on Twitter. He said, if you played a goalie tonight, congrats, move on to the next slate or something. Or if you played a goalie tonight, that wasn't the play. Just summed it up perfectly. It seemed like no goalie got there, besides Dubnyk there at the end. So he bailed me out a little bit, helped get some of my lost entry fees back. Speaking of Dubnyk's team, we have the Minnesota Wild against the Anaheim Ducks. In the last game of the night, 70% of my goalies died, I think. Yeah, it was basically, did your goalie score 5+ points? Because no one got a shutout that I'm aware of. And no goalie just completely wrecked the slate. And even if you didn't get a big score to your goalie, if you would have taken 2.5 or 3 points from most of your goalies, because you would have had a chance to cash still. Because a lot of them ended up in the old negatives. All right. Last game of the night. Wild Ducks. Alex Stalock going up against likely John Gibson. Stalock is a fine backup in the NHL. He's not Dubnyk. But I do like Stalock quite a bit because, once again, I am on the Minnesota Wild here. And it's just a numbers game. I haven't heard much talk about the Wild today, but I absolutely love what they've done with their lines. So you look at Koivu, Parise, Niederreiter. I think that's a very well-constructed line. It's cheap for DFS. And then you look at my favorite line, the Stahl, Zucker, Granlund line. Just insane numbers together. Going back to January, I believe they were put together. And they just haven't stopped since. Nearly 20 high-danger chances, 4 per 60, which is an absurd pace. And they've kept it up in a lot of minutes. So we got a big sample. They are just fantastic together. And the Koivu, Parise, Niederreiter line is very good as well. So I'm pretty excited to fire up some Minnesota Wild. I don't think they're going to be super highly owned because it is a road back-to-back, and there is some value on the other side, which I understand. Minnesota does commit a lot of penalties, but so do the Ducks. So you're seeing on the screen we've got it as a 5.4 total. Whatever it is, 5.5, 5.4. I think we're going to see goals in this game. And, I think we've got a great chance to see goals at even strength for Minnesota side, and then on the power play for both teams. Gibson is elite, but he's got to have it every night when they're leaving him out to dry all the time. So I'm pretty excited about this game. I always like having players in the last game of the night. That is not why I'm on this game, though. Anaheim is bad. Exactly. Raj said it. That's why I'm on this game. I will be riding the Minnesota Wild wave, hopefully cheering on with some of my roommates because they're all Wild fans, or some of them are Wild fans. So hopefully we'll be watching this game, having fun, watching me make some money, and hopefully watching you guys make some money. So to get a better idea of just how good these Minnesota lines are, I actually pulled up, let's see. Oh, no, I didn't. I was looking at, well, actually, first let's look at just how poor the top two lines are for the Ducks. We can talk about matchups. The Ducks have been hard matching a little bit this season, not as much as in past years, but you look at Kessler with Silfverberg, and I thought it was going to be Gibbons, or it was going to be Gibbons, Cogliano with Kessler. Whatever it is, Kessler, Silfverberg, Cogliano, they were a pretty poor trio at even strength last year. 12 high danger chances against, almost 30 scoring chances against per 60, about a 50% Corsi for percentage, so not a shutdown line that you are accustomed to seeing. They've been hard matching some games with Kessler, they've been hard matching some games with Getzlaf, but you look at Getzlaf and Raquel together this year, and I do have this pulled up. Getzlaf and Raquel with no Patrick Eves, who was their line mate tonight, 16.8 high danger chances against per 60, and that's in an 111-minute sample. So they're getting outshot, out attempted, 32 scoring chances against. I mean, they've just been really, really leaky defensively. There's really no other way to get around it here. So I don't know. Everything's pointing to me liking Minnesota. The only thing I don't like here is the road back-to-back, but I'm disregarding that, or not disregarding that. I just think there's too much value. The lines that Minnesota has together, assuming they stay together, are very, very good ones. So what does the term Corsi mean? That's shot attempts. So Corsi for is shot attempts, all shot attempts. So shots on goal, shots blocked, shots that go in the goal, all that. So anytime a team attempts a shot on goal is Corsi. San Jose or St. Louis? I mean, I don't know, like San Jose or St. Louis to win tonight? Or which lines are we talking about there? The coach is always shifting Koivu and Stahl. Yeah, you're right. It's super annoying. Boudreau likes to mix things up, and if the Ducks get down or get up 2-0 here early, you're probably going to see the blender come out with Boudreau, and then a lot of my lineups are going to be buried, and I'm comfortable with that. But I think he's going to give these lines a shot, assuming nothing goes haywire in the first few minutes of the game. They looked awful to start off. Minnesota looked awful to start off the game against the Kings, but battled back after a pretty bad goal they gave up to win 3-1. So Koivu got his first, Niederreiter got his first goal of the season, got that monkey off his back. That's an intangible thing that doesn't really matter. The numbers do matter, and the numbers are very heavily in Minnesota's favor, at least the ones that I look at. Would you play Coyle at all? I think someone asked Matt. Matt's always in here. Yeah. Would you play Coyle at all? If you're power play stacking, which I think is very, very viable here. So Coyle is with Granlund, Zucker, and Eric Stahl. So if you can't afford to get to Zucker or Granlund and Coyle does fit, then yeah, no problem with Coyle. To win San Jose or St. Louis, I don't know. I mean, that's really close. I don't really sports bet. What's the line at here? I mean, I'd probably take San Jose, but don't take that to the bank. If I'm going to a Ducks line here, just to finish it off, then I'm going to Getzlaf, Raquel, and Eves for the power play, really pair him up with Cam Fowler If you are looking for a one-off, I think Silverberg is my preferred guy outside of the top line. All right. That's about it for the slate in terms of going over game by game. No reason to think the line isn't fair. Public is basically split 50-50 in track bets. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really look at reverse line movement or line movement at all when I'm playing DFS. I just want to let the matchups do the talking. I do look at Vegas. I look at implied totals for teams, and it does make some difference. I'm not going to act like I'm better than Vegas or anything. I do incorporate that into my data, but it's not something I am like constantly tracking. Did a line move 10 cents? No, that doesn't really do a ton for me. So maybe some people will tell you otherwise. Some people are probably smarter than me. So what should we do on the slate for trying to make a unique lineup? Actually, now that we're on this game, I think you should. This is a lineup that I really like. Suter, Minnesota power play stack. There you go. You got all the. Who's another line we like? Scheifele, Wheeler. You'd want to switch these guys around. Get one of these Minnesota guys in your utility because he is the last game of the night. But we'll just keep this going. So you'd want to have something like, you could do that. Or, who's another defenseman that we like? Can't fit Seth. Man, defensemen aren't great tonight, honestly. There you go. Look at that. You wouldn't want that. You get the idea, though. Alternatively, Caps are small favorites, but that's with some huge public bias. Yeah, it seems like the Caps always get bet on, defending Cup champions. I know the Blackhawks were like that for a while, back when they were actually good. It's just like the popular teams at the time, or the dynasty teams, seem to always get bet on. So you can read into that however you want. I try to stay away from actual Vegas lines because I'm not betting the lines. I'm betting on who's going to score goals, which sounds like the same thing, but it's a little bit different, as we know. What should we look at, guys? There's a good amount of you in chat. Some people should have some ideas. I like the Minnesota power play stack. But if I'm hand building tonight, it'd be really tough for me to get away from either this combo or this combo. Like if I have one lineup to go in on, I'm sure Minnesota ends up there some way, somehow. But it would be Toronto 1 or Winnipeg 1, the other two teams I liked in the article this morning. So not much has changed from that article. Really do like those three stacks that I recommended earlier today. Are they ever going to raise the prize pools? I mean, tomorrow will be telling. I think last Saturday, was it last Saturday? Maybe it was a different day, but everything filled early, except for that garbage $40 they run out. So DraftKings needs to give you they should give you a wider range of, a wider selection at various price points. Like looking at what they have tonight. So right now I've got the $8 opened up, but like looking at these tournaments tonight, yeah, they ruined the mini max, which is a tournament I really liked for baseball. But like tonight, it's like 8 and 33. Okay. Like, can we get something in between that, or can we get this down to 5 and have I don't even know, like a $20 and a $50, like something like that. I don't know. They say they have the numbers for all this, but okay, they've got a $1 tournament down here too, right? The hip check. But this is 20 max. And that's fine. People like 20 max, but the mini max is also filling every day early, and it probably won't today, and it's not going to fill, and then they'll say, well, it didn't fill today. Well, that's because no one wants to play a $2,500 tournament with $125 up top for beating 6,000 people almost. I don't know. The sniper is good. I agree. The sniper is very good. But when they force you to play the $40, like tomorrow, they don't have the games up for tomorrow. But when they force you to play the $40, it's just such a turnoff. In my opinion, the deflection on FanDuel is a joke. Yeah, I don't play the quarter on FanDuel. I don't know. If you had to choose between Tavares and Ryan O'Reilly in cash, do you go Ryan O'Reilly since the Blues are one-dimensional line as of late? I would go Tavares there. I'm also not a big cash player, but if I'm making a lineup, I'm just trying to. I think Tavares scores more points. I haven't projected for more points. Yeah, like give us a $2 mini max. Give us a $3 mini, like something that's not like something you can get a bunch of entries in, where you don't have to spend $1,500 if you don't want to. Or this is a nice tournament here, 21 max. So if you like 20 max and you can afford the whatever, it's almost $700 I think to max enter this tournament. It's a good payout structure, all that. That's pretty standard. Then sure, $5 10 max. Yeah, they're just not giving you options that are appealing for people that want to play low stakes MME. Honestly, so I get turned out. I play this 8, whatever. I haven't entered today yet. I'm probably just gonna enter the 8, and but some people can't do that. Wrist shot is okay, yeah, but it's tiny. I like the idea, like I like the price point of all these tournaments, but you need to increase one of them. Take away one of the $1, $2, and $3 and combine them into one, and give us more entries and a higher top prize and stuff like that. Totally agree. I got 5 top 10 places and made nothing. Yeah, yeah. Like I won the mini-max and they were running the ridiculous, what was it? It was like 500 to first and 100 to second. Yeah, this has a nice flatter payout. This is much better. It's 2 times min cash. Perfect. Not perfect, but better, right? Still not. Like they could make this way bigger, or make one of these bigger. I don't know. It just sounds like I'm bitching and I don't have all the answers. They're trying to play to the Sharks. Maybe. I don't know. Like you can enter this, sure. I played this all the time last year. This is really nice. But trying to get more into MME, there's just very, very few options. I like the $4 price point on FanDuel, but I just don't like playing on FanDuel. Honestly, I don't think they have a very good product. Last Thursday, FanDuel had the $2 20 max. Yeah. Well, DK has that every day, the $2 20 max, right? Or what do you guys want to do? You guys want to do some... Oh, by the way, if you're still watching this, hearing my rant on DK pricing that I do every other day, feel free to give us a like. Promo code Hit the Ice. If you guys want to learn more about that, hit me up on Twitter. I can tell you what that entails. But Slack, premium Slack is the nuts. You should definitely join our premium Slack for the week. See if you like it. I would definitely recommend it. A lot of very sharp people in there. I learn a lot in there. So I don't have all the answers to that either. Constantly trying to get better, and I feel like Premium Slack does a really good job of more learning the game of hockey than anything, and learning DFS, of course. Dislike the DK builds. FanDuel is way easier. Yeah, when you do it correctly, probably. That was the first site I played on. Maybe I will do FanDuel tonight. What do they have for it? Ooh, it's almost filled. 5K to first. FanDuel relies on scoring. What does that mean? I mean, I don't like that jump. I get you got to have 5K up top. I mean, still not great, but you know, I do like the price point a ton better. 444. You can max 150. It's like if you're gonna just have the mini max at a 50-cent price point and then have a quarter arcade and then a $1 and then a $2 and then a $3, you know, that's just all the same to me. It looked like you could have taken down a DK tournament last night with half your salary, probably, if you had Vancouver. I don't know who was the other team that went nuts. There were a few of them, but Vancouver was dirt cheap, and the fish I didn't have any Vancouver. I actually X'd them out. So I don't know, I'll make aggressive plays like that. I didn't think that was all that aggressive, actually. But yeah, sometimes you get burned by Xing people out when you're MMEing. Boston went off too. Yeah. I got a cool $7 going. What was I going to do here? All right. FanDuel crunches. All right, let's see what we can do here. The guy who always asks for FanDuel crunches isn't in here, is he? Do that. You guys can get access to Fantasy Cruncher as well with the promo code Hit the Ice. So do that. I hate asking for likes, but it does really help us do this for free. So myself, Steve, it really helps us. So give us a like if you so choose. So this is kind of what I would do on FanDuel. Maybe go, how many games are there? 6 games, 25, 25. This is pretty aggressive, I think, for 150 lineups, but hopefully Cruncher's moving pretty smooth here. Gave you a like even though I don't play hockey. That's the spirit. What else am I forgetting? All right, so we got Fantasy Crunchers projections in here. We'll go 150. Actually, we'll go 100 quick. I feel like I'm. Yep, forwards. Dell or Chad Johnson tonight. They're playing against each other. Pretty new to DK hockey, and gotta agree the structure is pretty terrible compared to the NBA or NFL. Yeah, I mean, everything's top heavy, so that's fine. But I'm talking about the actual contest selection is so bad for someone who doesn't want to play $1,200 a night. You know, and I would like there to be a lower stakes MME tournament that's not at the $8 price point. I think that is super not appealing to some people, especially when it's top heavy, like 10K up top and then 3K to second place. It's just, you have to bank that a couple times if you're going to keep MMEing it. I'm pretty new to, what's wrong with them playing each other? Oh, yeah, nothing wrong with them playing each other. I think I would go Dell. I think Dell's got a chance to see quite a few shots tonight, and I think he is the better goalie. I need a goalie, and those two are the only two I can afford. Yeah, I think I would go Dell. What are your goalie usage percentages? It depends on the slate size. Again, I don't ever want to overexpose myself to goalie. And so like tonight, I'd probably do 25. So that way, if a goalie is projected to crush tonight, you're not going to get more than a fourth of your lineups with them. So if they bomb, which happens all the time in the NHL, as we saw last night, your night's not buried. The point in MME, for the most part, is to diversify and get exposure to a lot of different lineup constructions. Don't want to have all my eggs in one basket, especially not one of a goalie. So let's do this. Let's stack one center with at least one goalie from the same team. And this is how you can correlate. There's different ways to do this. Dell not worth the dollar on FanDuel or DraftKings. Dell is super cheap on DraftKings. So if I'm, ooh, oh, I didn't do one center. So I have to click one, otherwise it won't compute. So now if you want to correlate your goalies with one of your stacks, you see you've got Couture, Meyer, LeBanc with their goalie. Same thing here, New Jersey 1, you get the goalie. It's just something I like to do, make goalie exposure a little bit easier. And if you think about it, your goalie's more likely to get the win if your stack goes off. I don't know. You're trying to get a win. And even better, if your team wins 3-0 and your line scores 2 or 3 full line goals or something like that, and you have that goalie, man, you're sitting in a real good spot. St. Louis 1 going off tonight. Very well could be. I do like St. Louis 1. I don't think I had any crazy takes tonight. Just playing the best plays. So the only difference I'd make to this, just this crunch, is that I would upload my projections, which you guys can also get with promo code HitTheIce. So if you haven't done that, sign up, get a free week. You would get it until next Thursday. So you'd have 3 or 4 big slates, which would be pretty nice to try out my projections, see if they're for you, see if Osmo's rankings are for you. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Yeah, we've got a lot of good stuff. I'm looking at tomorrow's schedule. I'd be very happy if DK gave us a nice early slate. It's 3 games, whatever, but if they could make an effort to give us some playable contests, that would be very much appreciated. 8 games tomorrow. Possibly going to be doing a show tomorrow, but don't want to make any promises just yet. We're going to see if we can fire one up. Yeah, what else do you guys want to see here? We got a couple more minutes, and then we got to get out of the way for the NBA guys. I believe there's 7 NBA games tonight. So it's going to be Laffy and Adam Scherer. Those guys will take you up until the Live Before Lock show with Fast Eddie Fear and Josh Engelman. Football content, we have a ton of it. Ownership projections are coming out tomorrow for NFL, for all slates too. So if you play the early, if you play the afternoon only, like, we give you ownership projections for those as well, which I think is quite a big edge for NFL. We've got the, let's see, Slant and Go by Chris Baggs. Ben Raza did his Spotlight article. Lots of good free content. And then the tools are the premium features. So, so definitely sign up. Use promo code HitTheIce. I'm calling a random 2-goal game from Adam Lowry. That would be quite the call. You're not going to need too much to get over the field on him. Man, these lineups look incredible. I like the spread they give you. Looks like Fantasy Cruncher is with me on the Winnipeg 1 train. Winnipeg 1's got to be chalk. I mean, there's just no way around it, which I'm comfortable with. You can play chalk, just play it differently, as I say. Thoughts on using global exposure versus individual exposures? I like just doing stack exposures. I mean, on FanDuel, it's a little bit different. How expensive is Bufflin? Yeah. Like the Lowry call, he's with Line A. Yeah, he's with Line A at even strength. Global exposure, I don't know. I usually just limit goalies. I don't try to globally limit anything. I want my projections to do the work for the most part after I put in the settings on Fantasy Cruncher. Klingberg out a month. Yeah, Hiskinen, I saw is skating on the top unit. That's a pretty big boost for him. Maybe he starts to shoot a little bit more. Who knows? All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Give us a like. NBA show next. So if you came here for that, Adam and Laffy will be on very shortly talking the 7-game NBA slate. Good luck tonight in NHL. Check out our NFL content. Promo code Hit the Ice. And we will be back very soon. See you guys.